Dear friends, welcome. In this video, we will discuss how the rise of the new Syrian government, led by the HTS, is changing the Syrian civil war and the severe persecution that the current regime is inflicting on Arab minorities and even Syrian Christians. Since the fall of Bashar al-Assad, Syria has been going through one of the most turbulent phases of its prolonged civil war. The overthrow of the Assad regime marked the end of an era of severe oppression, but also initiated a period of intense instability. The new interim government, dominated by Sunni Islamic forces, is facing resistance on multiple fronts, especially among minorities that were previously under the protection of the deposed regime. In the coastal region of Syria, the traditional homeland of the Alawite community, violent clashes have erupted between militias loyal to the old regime and the security forces of the new government. These confrontations have resulted in the deaths of more than 1,000 people in recent days, including nearly 1,000 civilians, many of whom were victims of summary executions, highlighting the brutality of the current moment of the conflict. The rise of the new government has also brought changes to the political and military structure of the country. The coalition led by Ahmed al-Shara, a former commander of the jihadist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, has taken control of the central administration and is seeking to consolidate its dominance over a highly fragmented territory. However, the legitimacy of its government continues to be questioned both internally and externally. The Alawites, who for decades held prominent positions in Assad's government and military, now face a situation of extreme vulnerability without the protection of the Assad regime. This Shia Muslim minority has become a target of reprisals by Sunni groups historically opposed to the Assad regime, with Alawite leaders appealing to foreign powers for protection, especially the United States and Russia. A former Syrian diplomat revealed that the historically secular Alawite community fears being persecuted due to the rise of radical Islamic factions. There are reports that Alawite families have sought refuge in Russian military bases in the country, demonstrating the level of insecurity they face. Sectarianism remains one of the major challenges for the stabilization of Syria, with other minority groups such as the Druze and even Christians also facing difficulties. The new regime has adopted an ideological line very close to extremist Islamic fundamentalism, leading the international community to express concern about the possibility of a new cycle of sectarian violence within the country. The international response to the recent events of violence in Syria was immediate, with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio publicly condemning the massacres perpetrated against minorities and calling on the new Syrian government to hold the perpetrators accountable. Washington has shown a willingness to intervene diplomatically in the crisis, although it is still unclear what its long-term strategy will be. Israel, on the other hand, has adopted a much more direct approach in the face of the growing threat to the Druze in southern Syria. The government of Benjamin Netanyahu declared the area south of Damascus as a demilitarized zone and ordered the Israeli Defense Forces to prepare for possible large-scale military operations. The escalation of tension on the Syrian-Israeli border indicates that Tel Aviv will not hesitate to act militarily if the situation of the Druze deteriorates further, with clear signs that the Israelis are actively preparing for this by occupying a strip of territory on the Syrian border. Russia, in turn, faces a strategic dilemma. After years of supporting the Assad regime, which even involved direct attacks against HTS forces, Moscow now needs to redefine its policy in Syria. Reports suggest that the Kremlin has been holding discreet talks with the new government, trying to ensure its military presence in the country, while avoiding a direct clash with other regional actors such as Turkey and Iran. One of the most unexpected developments in recent days was the agreement between the interim government and the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, led by the Kurds. For years, the Kurds have sought autonomy within Syria, resisting both the Assad government and Turkish offensives. Now, with this new pact, the Kurds have become part of the Syrian National Army in an attempt to stabilize the northeastern region, partially controlled by the SDF. For the Kurds, this agreement represents a chance for political and military survival, especially amid uncertainty about the continued presence of American troops in the region. The Turkish government has also been pressing the international community to lift economic sanctions against Syria, arguing that the reconstruction of the country is crucial to ensuring regional stability and preventing the strengthening of extremist groups. Additionally, Turkey hosts millions of Syrian refugees and wants to find a viable solution to repatriate them back to Syria quickly and safely. All that is happening there shows us that the war in Syria has not ended, but has entered a new phase with even more complex dynamics, but equally violent and terrible. The collapse of the Assad regime has opened the door to new internal conflicts, with minorities becoming targets of persecution and violent attacks, while regional and global powers try to redefine their strategies. The future of the country remains uncertain, but at least for now, chaos, violence, and instability continue to be a constant in Syria. If you found this content informative and believe it can help others better understand the complex situation in Syria, don't forget to like this video to support our work. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now to stay updated on important global topics like this one. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell to be alerted whenever a new video is released. Your interaction is very important to us and helps us continue to bring you relevant and high-quality content. Thank you so much for your attention and support.